There are gambling mistakes that cost you a few bucks, and then there are gambling mistakes that destroy entire bankrolls in minutes. Vegas casinos profit big time when tourists like you make these errors. Here are the gambling mistakes that Vegas casinos hope you never figure out. This might be the costliest mistake you can make as a Vegas tourist without even realizing it. The difference may seem small, just one extra zero on the wheel, but it dramatically impacts your chances of winning and gives the casino an even bigger advantage. If you're playing at a double zero roulette wheel when there's a single zero wheel nearby, you're basically volunteering to lose your money faster. A single zero wheel has a house edge of 2.7%, meaning for every $100 you bet, you are expected to lose $2.70. On the other hand, a double zero wheel has a 5.26 advantage over you. The worst option is the triple zero wheel, where the casino's edge jumps to 7.7%. Don't play that. It's only for dumb rookies. Many Vegas casinos cleverly place types of roulette wheels around their floor, knowing most players won't notice the difference. Single zero wheels usually have higher minimum bets, but the odds are much better for the player. If you don't pay attention, you might end up playing the worst version without even knowing it. If you don't have a plan before gambling, you are almost certainly guaranteed to lose everything. It might seem odd to stop playing while you're ahead, but that is what separates the smart players from those who give all their winnings back to the casino. Time and time again, players turn small wins into devastating losses because they simply don't know when to walk away. The psychology is pretty fascinating because many players, after they win some money, they feel like they're playing with house money, and that leads them to take bigger risks. Others feel like they've either found a winning strategy or they're on a lucky streak where they just can't lose. Guys, the casinos literally bank on you thinking this way. Some players like to use the win a meal system, where when they get ahead a certain amount, enough to cover the cost of a meal, they take that money, put it in a separate pocket, and they just continue to play with the rest of the money that they originally budgeted. The reason they do this is because that way they guarantee themselves at least one positive outcome for the day, no matter what happens. So even if they lose all the money they were originally going to be gambling with, they have the money set aside they won, and they're going to at least get a dinner for the night. Without discipline, the longer you play, the more the house edge takes your winnings until you lose it all. When your gambling money runs out faster than you expect, there's always that tempting machine in the corner of the casino that promises instant relief from your financial pressure and a chance to get back into the action. But that's more like sinking into financial quicksand. Taking a cash advance on your credit card to continue gambling is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make in a casino. These transactions typically come with instant fees, often 3 to 5% of the amount withdrawn, plus interest rates can exceed 25%. And unlike regular credit card purchases, that interest starts piling up right away with no grace period. To put this in perspective, if you take a $1,000 cash advance with a 25% interest rate and a 5% fee, you immediately lose $50 before you've even placed a bet. Even if you win in the casino and pay back the advance in a month, the interest and fees have eaten away at your winnings. And let's be honest, if you're desperate enough to take a cash advance, winning isn't the most likely outcome. Unfortunately, there's no shortage of people in Vegas who take out multiple cash advances in one night, and each time they're convinced their next try at gambling will turn things around, but it rarely does. Look, instead of digging yourself deeper into debt, recognize when it's time to stop. Set aside how much money you're willing to lose before you start gambling and stick to it. When that money's gone, your gambling session is over, no exceptions. And remember, the ATM isn't offering you a chance to win, it's offering you a very expensive loan that you'll be paying for long after your Vegas trip is just a memory. The quickest way you can ruin your Vegas vacation is to blow through your entire gambling budget in the first hour. Overbetting your bankroll, that is, making bets that are too large compared to your total funds, is the perfect recipe for a short and painful casino experience. But there's no shortage of tourists who do this constantly, especially at table games where the excitement and peer pressure can lead to poor decisions. A smart strategy is to never risk more than 1 to 2% of your total bankroll on a single bet. If you have $500 to spend for the day, that means keeping each bet you make around $5 to $10. This helps your money last longer and protects you from losing everything too fast. If you want your gambling entertainment to last, calculate your total budget first, then decide how long you want to play. A good rule of thumb is to bring enough for at least 100 bets at your chosen denomination. This gives you a reasonable chance to enjoy several hours of play and possibly even walk away a winner. Vegas casinos make millions off tourists who fall for this crap. You've probably seen people online posting about the luckiest casinos to gamble at, as if some properties have magical powers that make slot machines pay better. The online world is full of these lists, and some tourists believe them without question. But the truth is that the math doesn't care which casino you're in. A slot machine with a 9% house edge works exactly the same, whether it's at the Bellagio or a gas station. Casino executives get a laugh out of it when people look for quote-unquote lucky properties instead of focusing on games with better odds. Every casino slot machine uses a random number generator, every casino is subject to the same gaming regulations, and operates under the same mathematical principles. The only things that change between casinos are the variety of games, the rules, and their player reward systems. Luck doesn't live in buildings. It's just math playing out over time, and the math works the same everywhere in Vegas. Vegas casinos spend thousands of dollars on these, but they're designed to give you false hope. Those electronic display boards at roulette and baccarat tables are nothing but magnets for bad decisions. You'll see players studying them like they're reading tea leaves, looking for patterns in the last 20 spins. Some people bet on red because it hasn't hit in a while, while others bet on black because it's been quote-unquote hot. Casinos spend money installing these boards for one reason. They know that displaying past results makes people bet more. What those displays actually show is the gambler's delusion in action. Each spin at the roulette wheel is completely independent of every previous spin. The ball doesn't have a memory, and it doesn't know that it has hit red 5 times in a row. The odds of hitting red are exactly the same on every single spin, regardless of what happened before. Casinos love these displays because they turn random results into imaginary patterns that don't exist. The house edge stays exactly the same whether you're betting on patterns or just picking colors randomly. Nothing destroys your Vegas gambling budget faster than this betting system. The concept sounds foolproof on paper. Bet on even money outcomes like red or black in roulette and double your bet every time you lose. And eventually, you'll win and recover all your losses plus a small profit. But math experts have been debunking this for decades, and casinos love that people still believe in it. Here's why it destroys money. Table minimums kill the strategy after enough losses in a row. Start with $5, and you're betting $640 after 7 losses, but a table's maximum bet may only be $500. Even if there were no limits, the bets can grow so fast on a losing streak that you run out of money before you can recover. A 10-loss streak starting at $10 means your next bet will have to be $10,240 just to win back your original $10. The casino's advantage doesn't disappear because you're doubling bets. Instead, it grinds you down on every single spin. And casinos love martingale players because they risk huge amounts to win tiny profits. And when the inevitable losing streak hits, they lose everything at once. This is probably the most ridiculous superstition you've ever heard in Vegas, but it makes casinos rich by distracting players from what actually matters. Some of you have probably seen slot players either rubbing coins together to make them hot, standing instead of sitting, or hunting for machines near the entrance because they think location matters. Some players even turn up the volume, believing louder sounds mean better payouts, while others avoid machines that just pay jackpots, thinking they won't hit again. The cold reality is every slot machine uses a random number generator that decides results the moment you hit spin. The temperature of the coins you put in, your physical position, machine location, volume level, and recent payouts have absolutely zero effect on the outcome, as each spin is completely independent and random regardless of what happened before. Casinos particularly love superstitious players because they waste energy on meaningless rituals instead of learning which machines have lower volatility. When I was in college playing football, I had some teammates who did stupid things, and one of these revolved around sports betting. So when I was 19, during the football season, there was a guy on our team who would come every week, and he would give guys on the team this paper of all these bets they could make on NFL games. Now, I remember one guy on the team who liked to make all these different bets. This is before I knew anything about sports betting, way before I lived in Las Vegas. And what he would do is he would go and look at it, and he would choose, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different teams that he would think would win. And I remember looking at that and he's saying, oh yeah, if all 8 of these teams win, I'm gonna win however much amount of money. And I remember looking at it and not even knowing anything about sports betting, but I knew football. And I remember saying, you know, the chances of all 8 of those teams winning, like, do you know what the odds are of that happening? And he gave me a response that I am sure every single sports book around the world loves to hear. He goes, well, I think I'm better than the odds. I just remember thinking, like, okay, dude, I think you're just some 19-year-old California moron, but hey, if you think you're better than the odds, you want to throw your money at it, then go for it. So anyone who owns a sports book, they love that kind of thought process and that kind of betting strategy. Making gambling mistakes in Las Vegas is already risky, but if luck is on your side, a casino employee might drop some tips and point out your mistakes. Still, there are certain things that Las Vegas hotel and casino employees will never tell you. To find out what they are, check out this video. Look at these 2 cups. At first glance, you may not notice a lot of difference between them, but one is skinnier than the other. That is not an accident. That is very much by design.